My job in my mother's life was washing and rolling her hair. And when I washed and rolled her hair that time, it came out in my hands. All of it.
Hold on. You see, I got on my green joint. On my
I
green
love
tuxedo t-shirt. Let me straighten up here. I had to make sure everybody can see the green tuxedo joint.
Love it. My favorite color.
I appreciate it. You looking gorgeous. You looking beautiful.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Cool.
You know,
cool.
I had to get done up for you too, bro.
Yeah. So the people who have come after my sister-in-law, bless her soul, she was the first one to go, and she's like, "Hold on, everybody else got a chance to get all dolled up, and you just got
gotta
me
have
on
her
the
back.
fly." So was
that the woman that cooks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, welcome to What's Up With You, Melissa, and everybody watching. I appreciate everybody that's tuned in. I don't know how I met Melissa through Facebook, social media, something. Yep. I started listening to her poetry. I've actually seen her perform her poetry live. It's one of the most amazing things you could ever see live. I give you the greatest poet of all time and an even greater human being, Melissa Ellis. So.
I swear, you know what to say to put a big old cheese-eating grin on a sister's face. Thank you for that. I really, really appreciate that. And I keep forgetting, Shells, that we did meet in person.
Yeah,
at the poetry joint.
That night too.
Yes.
Like, this ain't really my thing. I'm more of a rapper, but it's okay. You
which we're gonna talk about tonight too. We're gonna talk about that tonight too, bro.
What we gonna talk about?
We're gonna talk about that rapping. That's what we're gonna talk about.
Oh, here we go.
So you picked the right one this week, bro. You picked the right one.
All right. So, I got a list of questions. They're not really question subtopics. I kind of like to let the conversation flow.
Absolutely.
But what I wanted to start with is you turned 50.
I did. September 1st.
September 1st. Happy belated birthday. Even though I wish you happy birthday.
Yes.
That is a major milestone.
It is.
How does it feel to be 50? What does it mean to be 50? What is it to be on earth for a half of a century?
To be honest, I don't feel like I have been. Mm-hmm. Like it doesn't, I don't know what an age is supposed to feel like. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how 50 is supposed to feel. I just feel like me. Like, I still feel like me. If you ask me, I still feel like I felt when I was in my 30s. I don't feel like I'm 50. Right. But it's coming. Like, I'm without getting all into it, like menopause is hitting. Mm-hmm. So I'm having the physical effects of being 50.
Right.
But mentally and emotionally and spiritually, like, I don't feel any different. I feel ageless. I feel timeless. Some of that probably has to do with my recent journey with losing weight and all of that to put me in a better physical condition so that I can feel that way. Mm-hmm. But I forget that I'm 50, Chills, for real. I don't realize how old I am until somebody else tells me how old, like, my niece is. You know what I mean? Like, my niece, who was my baby, just turned 40. And then I'm just like, oh, shit. Like, she's 40. That's when I start
like
putting it.
Like, oh, I don't
there
like
you
that
go.
bookmark. That's no.
Exactly. The babies, like the ones that I still remember as babies are like 15, 14. That's when I start to feel my age. But other than that, it doesn't feel any different than any other age.
See, what that makes me think about is I'm not going to go deep into my story, but I've been having this spiritual peace.
Yes.
As about maybe I was probably about 4 or 5 years old. I remember I was in the car with my parents and I was looking up at the universe. It was nighttime, and I said, I wonder, am I going to be the same me that I am now when I am later, right?
Yeah.
And I just realized, like, that's the soul of us. That's the
right.
God aspect, because it's time.
That's right.
And that's
Absolutely.
why you feel that way. That's because you sit in that seat of divinity, right?
Yeah.
So, hey, forever young. I love it.
Absolutely.
So you went to Vegas. Tell me about Vegas. Is it true that whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas?
Stays in Vegas. You know what? I'm gonna just keep, like, my girl Lily is on this on this video. She's watching.
Okay.
Lily is
Hey,
someone
Lily.
that I also met, and I think Lily would be another person that would be amazing for you to interview. So Lily, reach out to Charles because I think you'd be a fun interview too. She's a poet too. But Lily, I met Lily online, you know, through poetry, through the Blog Talk Radio, and then through different events that we went to together. And she just became like one of my best friends. And when I was turning 50, I didn't want to do the regular same old thing that I'd always done. So I said I wanted to go to Vegas. My niece decided to join me, and Lily, who lives in California, flew to Vegas, and the three of us hung out for a weekend, or almost the whole weekend. The thing about Vegas that was so amazing to me wasn't so much the whole Sin City aspect of it. It was that there were people in my life who loved me enough to make that trek with me. It was that people in my life cared enough to want to make that special for me. And then, of course, being a country girl, I mean, I grew up on a farm. Them lights, like them city lights and all the colors. And it was like, man, I was like a little kid again. So while I won't say that we did things that necessarily had to stay in Vegas, I am probably the opposite. I brought the whole spirit of Vegas back with me. And I feel like the next phase of my life is just going to be the best phase of my life. And Vegas helped me feel that way. Yeah, Vegas helped me feel that way.
Yeah, that's dope. I've never been to Vegas. It's always one of those things that I wanted to do.
You got to go. Just do it. And and I'm going to tell people this, it wasn't super expensive, man. Like the whole trip was, me and my niece shared a room, but the whole trip was like $500 each. For the room, the flight, the whole nine. All we had to take was money for food and gambling if you want to gamble, which I'm not a big gambler. So it wasn't super expensive. And we were there from Wednesday to Saturday. So we had a really great time. So if it's something you want to do, that's the lesson I think I took from Vegas, because I had always wanted to go too. It was one of my spots. And if you want to do it, because life is absolutely short, as long as and as infinite as it is. This part of our journey, this part of our experience is short. So if you want to do it, go do it.
Lily,
I'll come watch the girls.
Next month.
Yeah, Lily stay there. Lily had went a couple of weeks before I showed up. So
that's Lily's second home. They be like, hey,
yes.
Lily. She's like, hey, I'm back, just slide through right quick.
Exactly. I'll watch the girls. Y'all go to Vegas. I'll watch the girls.
Did you gamble? Did you win or lose any money at all?
I did. I won $200.
Oh, word.
And I'm smart enough to know when to stop.
Oh.
So I didn't go back after that. I played a little bit here and there after that, but nothing major. As a matter of fact, all three of us won the same night.
Really?
But what we realized was, I want to say that was like a Thursday night. So it was before the weekend, and the machines were loose. You know what I mean? Like that's how they get you.
When it was good.
That's how they get you though. Like during the week, if you're there like Wednesday or Thursday, you're going to win, right? The machines are loose. But when the weekend roll in and they know people coming in, the machines get tight. But because you got lucky, you keep wanting to chase that luck. Right. And on the weekends, you're going to lose all that money back. So I stayed away from them on the weekends. I played like another $5 or $10 and let it be that.
Hey, once you up, it's like, all right, I'm good. I'm chilling.
Exactly right. That's exactly right. Rolled out.
So you mentioned about your weight loss journey.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about it.
Was it, how you say it, bariatric bypass? What was the procedure? What was the recovery? I know you're working out. Just tell me about it.
Let's talk about it. Okay. So a few years back, I started having really, really bad stomach pain. Couldn't keep anything down, would wake up in the middle of the night feeling like I needed to throw up, just miserable. And couldn't figure out what it was. Went to the doctor. They thought it was stomach cancer. They thought it was some kind of gastro thing. Like I went through all kinds of tests. Come to find out, it was a hiatal hernia that was causing acid reflux. Okay. And the acid reflux was getting so bad that it had started to give me sore throats, and I was starting to have some erosion in my esophagus. Okay. Being a poet, you ain't to mess with this voice. We ain't to do that. So in discussing my options, I could either have the hernia removed, which has a life of about 7 years, which means in 7 years, I would be going through this all over again. Or I could have weight loss surgery. weight loss surgery is called bariatric surgery, and there are various kinds. You can get lap band, you can get sleeve, or you can get gastric bypass. Gastric bypass is the most severe of them, where they actually not only reduce the size of your stomach, but they reroute your intestines.
Okay.
So they completely reshape the inside of your body, right? To limit the amount of food that you can have and all of that, and to restrict certain foods. So the reason we decided to go that route was because the hernia was actually caused by my weight. Because at the time, I was 380 pounds.
Okay.
So they said, you can have this surgery to fix it, but it's going to come back. Because if you don't lose this weight, the hernia is going to come back. And what a hernia is, for anybody that may not know, is where your stomach pokes through your diaphragm like that, because it's too much weight and pressure. Other things can cause hernias too, but that's the main thing. So your diaphragm is like this, a piece of your stomach starts poking through it, and it's painful and all kind of mess. So I went with surgery. I was terrified. I was mostly concerned with what other people would think, right? I was concerned about, because you hear people say all the time, surgery is the easy way out. Surgery is lazy. I used to think the same, but it needed to be done. Excuse me, I got to play Black Auntie for a second. Please be quiet before I get upset. Thank you. Bye. Okay, sorry about that. And look, it's so funny because I had agreed to babysit and forgot about it, but they noticed to not be loud and not be out here. But of course, I think they want so bad to be out here that that's what kids do. So y'all might catch.
We'll give them a moment of shine.
Y'all might catch a couple of Black Auntie moments where I have to bring people in. But I decided to have the surgery. I had it September 26th of 2019. So it's been 2 years. Within the first year, I knew immediately that my doctor was very honest with me. He said, you can gain this weight back no matter how much you lose if you're not committed. So you need to develop a workout regimen, and you need to eat properly. Okay. So as soon as I could work out, I started walking. Then, thanks to a certain someone by the name of Marcello Bradley, I decided I was going to run. Because who runs?
I got
and
you
was posting. And I'd always wanted to be a runner, but like, you made it seem feasible. Okay. Because you never talked about being a runner. You just were. Right. You didn't feel like you didn't have to go run a 5-mile marathon. You would post a mile run. Yeah. You would post a 2-mile run. And I was like, we're going to try this again. So I became a runner. I'm very proud to say that. I love being a runner. I became a runner. I work out 3 to 4, sometimes 5 days a week, doing both weights, running, cycling, all kinds of stuff. And I lost 152 pounds. So I've maintained that 152 pounds. I've maintained that now for about a year. So I lost it.
Whole human.
Yes. And it feels like a whole human. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. It's my greatest accomplishment. And while the surgery helped me do it, the surgery didn't do it. Like I need to be real clear about that. And I've said it in my own lives and stuff, but for anybody listening, like, real talk, surgery is a tool like anything else. If you don't use that tool and you don't do it the right way, you can best believe you will either not lose, or you'll only lose a little bit, or you will gain it all back. And I was determined not to do any of those. So if I'm gonna alter my body physically, I'm gonna do it right. So I've been doing it right.
Well, I mean, I think that definitely deserves a soft clap. I can't clap.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
I'm speechless at the fact that I helped you along your journey.
Absolutely. Why you think? And look, and you don't even, like, you probably don't even remember, but like, in the very beginning, I would hit you up about all kind of stuff about running.
I got short term. That's how athletes and rappers do. We make mistakes. we take the good and the bad and push it all back and keep moving forward.
When I first started running, like, I couldn't figure out how to breathe and run at the same time. And you gave me videos to watch. You gave me tips on breathing. You used to tell me the best shoes to wear. You told me the best apps to get, the whole 9. So you were, hold on for just a second, because I'm for real about to.
Take your time.
Josiah, I can hear you, sir.
Black
Thank you. Okay, sorry. I'm so sorry, y'all, but we
Hey, this
said
going
real
on YouTube
conversations
too.
with real people, right? We said real
Oh, we
conversations
real.
with real people.
We keep it
So we're gonna
live.
be real. Yeah. But yeah, so you were extremely instrumental. Like the app I use to this day, the Nike app, is the app you told me to get. The Nike Run Club app. You
I
told
like
me
the
how to
name.
get it, how to use it, how to post my pictures. Like you were extremely instrumental in me being a runner. And even now, like I'll be running sometimes and I'll be like, Marcello said in through the nose, out through the mouth.
Yeah,
and I'll refocus.
that's how it
So
goes.
and we'll talk about this a little bit later, but number one contender too.
Number one contender. Oh yeah. I can't listen to my own music while I run. It's too. I don't. I gotta listen to other stuff. I listen.
Sir, number one contender does it for me every single time. Like, and I have it on my playlist at a point where I know I'm gonna get fatigued
Mm-hmm.
because once I hear it,
Fight through it.
right through it every single time.
Yeah, that's
Every
dope.
single time.
That's dope.
Yeah,
I don't post my runs as much as I used to.
I
When I
noticed
do a
that.
run, I do at least 2 miles every other day. Sometimes I go do sprints on the football field. I still do my in-home workouts. I'm fasting, intermittent fasting. Oh
Oh
my
yeah,
God.
I've done that. I've done that. I used to love that. I haven't done it in a while though.
I have never felt so close to God.
You doing 16-8?
I do 16 and 8, right? But because of my schedule, I really end up almost doing 20 and 4,
Oh yeah. Okay.
you know. But the intermittent fasting with the running, it's like a high, it's like a natural high that I had never really experienced.
I didn't think about that, Chels. I might have to get back to that. I did that for a long time, back when I was heavy. I
Mm-hmm.
used to, because I tried everything to lose weight on my own before surgery.
Right.
Intermittent fasting was one of them, and I lost, but I didn't keep up with it. So I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to get back to it because it was like a burst of clarity.
Yeah, it's like I've never been so mentally clear. Real quick,
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you a story. So I got forced to work overtime the other day at Roslyn, and I work overnight, so I don't really come into contact with humans in mass. Right?
Okay.
And I hadn't been around so many people in probably 3 or 4 years. And I understood that we all share the exact same awareness. The underlying awareness is all the same. And it was like I could see, I'm like, all of these people are lost in their dream world of their thoughts. And I'm awake enough to know that that's me having a different experience, that this body
I
can't
love it.
right now. And I'm
I
like,
love.
yo, this is crazy.
I love it, and I love. You know what? And that was the one thing, Chels, that I said I knew was gonna make this conversation so dope. Is that I'm speaking to somebody that gets it, but also who knows how to have a conversation about it.
Mm.
Isn't
Yeah.
afraid to articulate it, isn't afraid to speak it, and knows how to have a conversation about it. So, yeah, that's dope. And I need that kind of clarity back because, and I've said this, like I still struggle with a lot of things in terms of my weight. Like I made the mistake of getting hooked on sugar again. So I'm struggling with trying to stay away from sugar and stay away from coffee, and so sometimes I'm cloudy. So that clarity is necessary. So I just might get back to IF. I might just do that.
Okay. Well, yeah. Well, I think in terms of the weight loss journey, the working out, the surgery, and all of that everything about you is very brave.
Thank you.
I've never been under the knife.
Never.
I've never been under the knife, and I don't ever plan on going under the knife.
I got you.
So for someone to consciously choose to go under the knife, that is something to be applauded, and we appreciate your courage. Basic question for you.
Mm-hmm.
The basic request of you.
Okay.
In your own words, define love. No wrong answer.
Oh my goodness gracious!
Told you I'm not letting you off the hook. You told
You are not playing, sir. Okay. Man, that's a tough one for me, right?
No,
Because
I don't have an answer. That's why I do the
see, that's what I was just ready to say. Like, I don't know that I have a set definition of what love is. I don't know that it can be captured in words because for me, it's twofold. It is both language and action. It's a combination of both, and that's different for whoever the love is coming from or going to. So it's kind of hard to, I mean, the feeling, to me, it's, okay, let me say this. Love to me is not a thing so much as it is a combination of things. It's a combination of respect and consideration and affection and romance. You know, it's a combination of things. But I'm with you on that one. I can't say I have a set definition of what love is. You got me already out the gate. We're not doing this, Marcello.
Okay. I'll back off a little bit. Fuck the gray skirt. So, because I had just thought about that maybe like an
That's
hour
a great
before.
question.
I was like, I want to ask her that. And so it made me question myself. And I said, well, I think my wife says that action carries the language. That's a very
Yes.
I love you.
Yes.
And so
I love her too. She's so sweet.
and so I was kind of, you know, I think of it like this: is love is something that's very slippery, right? And it's because it exists when it exists in moments. And so to me, like love is something as simple as changing a baby's diaper.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? It could be that simple. Love is having a IG live with a good friend.
Yes.
Right? Love is going to therapy. Love is a hug. Love is saying you hurt my feelings, and the person saying, even though I disagree with you, I apologize for hurting your feelings.
That's right. That's right.
None of that can be kept. Those are all those are signposts.
Exactly.
They're not
That's
the
right.
exit.
That's right.
And
That's right.
Like, it's so slippery, but I love. And you know what other thing is there? So that leads me into your love of poetry.
Such a strong love it is.
So
such a strong love.
Your poetry, I got you as the greatest poet of all time.
I love you for that. Thank you.
And I'm not a poetry connoisseur. However, I know some. And to me, you're above. I won't name names.
I appreciate it.
You're number one.
Thank you.
Right?
I really appreciate that.
You're welcome. So tell me about your love of poetry. You can talk about your writing process, what poetry has done for you. The floor is yours.
Okay, so I want to talk about the fact that I've been a poet since I was a kid. Just didn't know it, right? When I was in elementary school, I used to write poems and short stories and all kinds of stuff. When I got to high school, one of my really, really close friends, who's one of my best friends to this day, needed to turn in a poem for a class, and she didn't know how to do it. So I wrote a poem for her and turned it in as hers. We didn't tell anybody I wrote it. The teachers asked her if they could submit it for publishing. So she had to come clean and tell them that it was me. And because we had been deceptive, they chose not to submit it for publishing. But I didn't realize back then that it was something I would love to do. So after high school, life took over and I stopped writing or, didn't think anything more of it. In 2009, me and my best friend, my washer and dryer broke. So we actually had to go to a laundromat, something I hadn't done in years. Saw a flyer on the wall for a poetry event that was happening in my town and decided to go. We just going to check it out. So when we walk in the room, there is a brother performing named Christopher K.P. Brown. I think KP's Philly, but he was here in South Carolina. He was featuring. And when I walked in, he was doing this poem about a young brother named Darian Albert. I think that's his name. Forgive me if it's not. It's a young brother who had gotten beaten to death by a mob. And turns out it was mistaken identity. They beat him to death with a 2x4. And when I walked into the venue, KP was doing this poem and was waving this 2x4, an actual 2x4 in the air as he did this socially conscious piece. And in my mind, all I kept thinking was, this is poetry? Like, to me, poetry was Shakespeare. Poetry was, 30 days, half September, that mess.
Yeah.
This was a brother talking about stuff that affected us. And then as the night went on, he did more. Guys, as the night went on, he did more and more about healthy eating, generational wealth, like just these deep topics. And I grabbed a napkin that night, sitting at the table, and wrote my first spoken word piece, sitting at the table on a napkin. It was a piece about domestic violence.
That's love.
And it just hit me. it just literally poured out of me like water. And I knew that I was going to go back, and I was going to try to be brave enough to get on stage and read it. Mm-hmm. So one thing that if you love me or know me, you'll know that I am pretty objective. I prefer to see things from both sides, if at all possible. Mm-hmm. So I wrote the piece on domestic violence, and from the woman's perspective of being beaten. And it didn't feel right. So I had to write one from the male perspective, because we have male domestic violence victims that nobody ever hears about, because they never get a voice. Right. So I wrote both. And I went back. It was when that happened in October. The next month it was closed because of the holidays. So I went back right before Christmas and got on stage and performed both pieces and got a standing ovation. And I was hooked. Like, I was hooked.
Got the dopamine hit, like, oh.
Quick. It was like amazing. And I've been writing and performing ever since. And less than a year after that, I had my first feature at that same venue, and began getting features all up and down the East Coast. I performed in DC, North Carolina, here in South Carolina, in Georgia, in New York, several other states up and down the East Coast. And it allows me to address issues in a way that will reach people, because nobody likes to be preached at, right? Nobody likes to yeah. This allows me to but sound good doing it.
Right.
I sound good doing it, so they'll listen, you know. Right. But I've had, in the last few years, I've had a very strong love-hate relationship with the art. I don't want to say with the art so much as with myself. I've let a lot of self-doubt about my work come in and really just stop my pen. I haven't written a poem like easily, just sat down and write like I used to in years. I have some really dope friends who are poets who won't let me just not write at all. I have some friends that push me. I have a mentor that pushes me. And so pieces come out of me. But I question everything so much. I overthink everything so much. And that's the part of my internal work that I'm doing now, is to stop that and just get back to writing the way I want to write. I compare myself a lot to other poets, and that's always the death of your pen. You can't do that.
But there is no comparison. So
exactly.
You're comparing down. Like, who does that?
Exactly. So I'm trying really hard to just accept that my pen is my pen, and what comes out of me is meant to come out of me. And it doesn't have to sound like yours. It doesn't have to sound like anybody else's, because it's not. It's mine. So I'm trying to get back to that place. There's some shows coming up in DC around the holidays, and I plan to hit them if I can. So
let us know the dates.
I will.
I will bring the whole squad. Crystal will bring the seafood. We'll bring Libby out. We'll have a whole crew.
I would love it. I would love it. I'm really trying to get back to it. So I would appreciate it.
Who's your favorite poet?
Oh, that's so easy. I say this all the time. There is a brother out of Jersey. He's originated in New York at the New Yorican Poets Cafe. His name is Jamal St. John. Okay. Another poet I think you would love, and I think he'd be a good interview. So I'm gonna be sending you names and hooking people up with you, because I love this concept. I think this is the dopest idea ever. But Jamal is one of those poets that, for one, he's a self-proclaimed chubby chaser, right? So Jamal loves big women. But the work that he does, right, that's why I said I think you would like him, right? But the work that he does is so reaffirming of women, of Black women, of big women. He teaches you through his poetry to just love you the way he loves you. And it is, it's something that has always stuck with me. He has a poem called 10 Things. 10 Things I'd Like to Say to a Thick Woman.
Okay.
And I tell people this story, they don't believe me. I printed that poem off after the first time I heard it. I found the words, I printed it off, and I taped it to my computer at work. And whenever I had like doubts about myself or feeling any kind of way, I would read it. And I tell him all the time, that poem changed my life. One poem. So by far, Jamal St. John is my favorite poet.
Jamal St. John. So I'm gonna have to. If y'all give me 1 second, I'm gonna make a note of that.
And on he might be watching. I told him to tune in. I think his name I think his name on IG is Boondock Saints, I think, or something like that.
Yeah. He said he's commented a couple times. I try not to focus on the comments.
Yeah, I can't see them. Right, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? But he put a few things. He said that Just Me is amazing on the page and on the mic. Saw her do a dope feature in Baltimore a few years back, and it was nothing short of spectacular. Can't wait to hear some new poetry from her. So, Boondock Saint.
He doesn't even know that I made him my unofficial mentor. So
he doesn't know he's your mentor.
He don't even know. He don't know. We didn't agree to nothing. But
invoice this weekend.
You're right. But like I will hit him up when I have an idea to see if it's a good idea. You know, he's one of those people that does he'll push me to write. Jamal has so many slam championships under his belt, both in the United States and internationally, that it's ridiculous. Like any poet that's worth their salt knows what the New Eurekan is. It is kind of like the pinnacle for us, right? Like it's busboys and poets, and it's the New Eurekan. Jamal has been a New Eurekan grand champion like multiple times, and some of the greatest talent in the world comes through there. Jamal was slated to be on Def Poetry.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think it actually happened because of some stuff, but was slated to be on there. He's amazing. And he's been in the game for over 20 some years. So yeah, he's a favorite. And I have a lot of poets that I love and look up to, which is a blessing and a curse, because that's where some of that comparison comes from. I'm surrounded by dope poets, surrounded by them. And so sometimes it makes me quiver, you know.
Yeah, well that's what good competition, you know, in sport and artistry and painting and parenting and all of life. All we can do is push each other to be better.
Absolutely.
You know, and all we can do is be the best version of us that we can be.
Absolutely.
So that's dope. I got a quick story about busboys and poets, right?
Okay. I've never been, by the way.
Well, I'm traumatized by busboys and poets. So.
Oh no!
I performed at Busboys and Poets. We were we were rapping. I was with my group, and I forgot. I got halfway through the verse and I forgot the lyrics. And when I tell you it was a blank, I mean not like I remember like the ride, the twos and fours, like face palm.
Been there.
Nothing, right?
I've been there.
And I've never really liked performing. I like the creative part. I like the idea that I didn't have this thought before, and now I do.
Yeah.
You know, God was in the dark, and now there's a whole bunch of shit.
Yeah.
But that was before I went on The Real. So this is playing through my mind. Now when they filmed The Real, and I was on The Real, I was like, yo, you can't mess this up, bro, because this is national TV. You're in a police uniform rapping. So it's already going to be some people who feel some kind of way.
Yeah.
This has to be perfect. And I knocked it out the park, so I slayed that demon. And we
moved indeed. Yes, Lord, you did.
Every time I drive past the Busboys and Poets in Hyattsville, I'd be like, ooh, you got me. But we all take L's, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I'll never forget. I had the same thing happen to me. I was in the middle of a poem, completely lost it. Couldn't even think of the next anything. Like sometimes you can't think of the immediate next line, but you can think of something that comes later.
Right.
Nothing. And I literally had to just admit to the crowd, I can't do it, and gave the mic back to the host and walked off the stage. Worst feeling in the world. Oh, but it happens. It happens. And what it taught me to do, though, is like I have learned to improvise like a mug now. So if I drop something, I just try to keep going somehow or push through it or something like that. So.
Well, that's one of the good things about
what's wrong? Okay, you'll be all right. Can he come say hi? Because I think that's what we need.
Yeah,
come say hi. Hi. Say hi to everybody.
What's happening, King? How you feeling?
Good. This is my godson, Jojo. Jojo, you are extremely loud back there, and I need you to stop. Understand? Jojo. Okay? All right. Thank you. No. Bye. So I am, I'm the godmom. They think I'm rich. They always think I'm rich. So every weekend it's, can I get VC? Can I get V-Bucks? Can I? Yeah. So, yeah, I
That's
need a
because
second job.
you may not be rich, but you're wealthy.
I need a second job just to take care of the kids. But yeah, but the drop happens. The drop absolutely happens. And I think, like I said, all you can do is learn how to push through. It doesn't make you, I mean, it happens to the best of us. You know what I mean? It happens to the best people. So it is what it is. It sucks in the moment, though.
Oh, it's heartbreaking. I mean, it's like, so if someone were to offer to say, you know what, I can push you off that cliff over there, you'd be like, you know, not the worst thing that can happen. How deep is the cliff?
How deep is the cliff?
You know, is it like, you know, is it just like a 5-foot cliff? Or is it like
Exactly. That's the truth.
Boondock said, if you drop it, pick it right back up. Sister Collarbones is for the children like Wu-Tang.
So let me tell y'all what Sister Collarbones is about, because Jamal is silly. Y'all know Anthony Hamilton has a song out, Sister Big Bones, right? Okay. When I lost weight, one of the things that let me know I had lost weight was when I began to be able to see my collarbones, right? Okay. Jamal is a big girl lover, so collarbones are like kryptonite or like a dog with a bone. He hates it. So he nicknamed me Sister Collarbones, and that's what he calls me now. Because I betrayed the Meaty Neck Sisters by losing and focusing on my collarbones so much. So, but yeah, and he knows that like I'll do anything for my god kids, anything whatsoever. Like so, but yeah, like the thing though, I will say this: if you lose it, try to pick it back up, but sometimes you can't. Yeah. Sometimes you can't. You go so blank that you cannot. Yeah. So you just got to take the L, like you said, and come back again and kill it next time.
You take your L. JoJo showing up kind of leads into my next question, my next line of topic.
Okay.
Because you and I, we've had a few conversations about certain things, deep things, but we've never actually discussed your mother and your relationship with your mother.
Good one.
So I don't have a direct question. I just want to hear you talk about your relationship with her and what she means to you.
Okay. Ooh, Lord. Okay. I lost my mom to cancer when I was 23. Prior to her death, okay, let me back up. As a kid, my mother did not raise me. Okay. My grandmother raised me. My mother was a mother of 5 when my father got murdered. I was 2 years old. So as you can imagine, a woman raising 5 kids by herself on a middle school education struggled to raise 5 children. So she sent me and my sister right above me to live with my grandmother. And I would see her and the rest of my siblings on weekends only. So we didn't have the greatest relationship because I often felt like, why me? Why you send me away? Why I can't, And then my sister moved back home to live with them and left me at my grandmother's, because by then my grandmother spoiled me to death, and I'm torn between loving my grandmother and wanting to be with her and wanting to be with my mom. And so it was easier to blame my mom for putting me in that predicament in the first place than to just admit that I was torn and didn't know who I wanted to be with. At 11, middle school, I decided to go back home and live with my mom. And my mother she was a tough woman, which raising 5 kids by herself. She was a janitor at a elementary school, working part-time, trying to raise 5 kids. Yeah, you get tough, and you may not smile a lot, and you may drink a little too much sometimes. She didn't do that often, but but we didn't have a really close relationship. Now, I'm the baby of 5. So people who have kids know that, like, as you start being a little less attentive to the little ones. And so she kind of just let me be. She kind of just let me do, like, if I woke up and said I don't want to go to school, I didn't go to school. If I didn't feel like doing something, I didn't do it. If I wanted to spend the night at a friend's house, I spent the night at a friend's house. Like, that's just what it was. Right. And we just weren't close. As soon as I graduated high school, I moved out. I went to live with my sister and her husband in Maryland, Andrews Air Force Base.
You know, I
It's
lived on
where
Andrews too.
I heard you say that when you were interviewing your sister, and I didn't know that.
11 years.
But I lived on the base with her and her husband for several years, and then we moved into an apartment, she and I, in Camp Springs. And then my mom got sick. She got cancer. Actually, before she got cancer, my sister and I decided to move back home. Her and her husband split. She had the kids. It was just hard for the two of us, right? So we moved back home. And I feel like that was the universe, because after we moved back home, my mom got diagnosed with cancer the following year. It was only 6 months between her diagnosis and her death. She passed away really quickly.
Wow.
And in that 6 months, right before that 6 months, but throughout that 6 months, we got really, really close. And I think the breakthrough for it, I'll never forget it. They were having a Mother's Day program at the church. I'm not religious now, but I grew up in a Baptist church. Grandmother was an usher, mom was an usher, the whole night. And my grandmother asked me to speak. And I didn't really have great things to say about my mom. She wasn't a bad woman. We just weren't close, you know what I mean? Right. But the thing that came to me was, it hit me that, what would you have done at 29 with 5 kids and your husband get murdered? How would you handle it? What would you do? And I realized that it's a lot easier to judge our parents' choices when we ain't the ones that's got to make them. You know what I mean? Right. And so I ended up giving a speech about that very thing, about understanding that while in my eyes, I wish she had done things differently, I wasn't walking in her shoes. I didn't have her circumstances. And it was after that my mom told me she loved me for the first time, that I ever heard her say the words, tough woman. She never really said it. And so we got to be really close. And I'm actually published. The first thing that got published in a book for me, I wrote a short story. I took a course in realistic fiction, where you take an actual true life event and fill in the gaps that you don't remember specifically with truth, what they consider like fiction, but you're basically just fluffing the parts you don't remember. Right. I wrote this piece called Hair Today, Gone Tomorrow. And it was about my experience with my mom, where she asked me to, my job in my mother's life was washing and rolling her hair. And when I washed and rolled her hair at that time, it came out in my hands, all of it. Because she was going through the chemo, and her hair literally, when I finished with her hair, after I finished washing her hair, I'm washing it and it's coming out. When I finished, her head looked like yours. Wow. And we weren't ready for it, but I was a dumb kid and I didn't comfort her like I should. I just said, you know, trying to be strong. We expected this. It's going to be okay. And then I kind of left. And I feel like I wish I had said more. So while I have a great amount of love for my mother posthumously, I have that. I wish I had showed it to her more while she was here. So it's a complicated relationship with my mother, because I look just like her now. I see her in the mirror. Yeah. I got her shape. I have her fingers. I have her toes. I have her face. But I have to think that she knows that I love her. That's what I have to think. So, yeah.
Wow. I didn't know any of that.
I know, because I don't talk about them. I have one poem about my mom, and it's on my CD. It's on the CD that you have. It's titled Proud. And it talks about losing her before we got the chance to be friends. Right. I think we would have been great friends had we had more time. Time for me to mature and time for her to soften. Yeah. And we didn't get that. So one of my biggest, like my mom, I was a mess as a kid. I wasn't a good kid. I wasn't horrible, but I wasn't good. Like I got in trouble with the law. I did dumb stuff. I messed up my mama's credit. I ran up phone bills, you know, stuff like that. And I regret that she didn't get to see the woman that I became with maturity. So Proud is about that. It's hoping that she's proud of me, and that everything I do is in the hopes of not only her, but my siblings who became my parents. My sisters became my mothers. And my whole goal is about making them proud. everything. Yeah.
So just to know, when's your autobiography coming out? Because I mean, like,
I had never even considered it, but who knows? That might be what 51 brings, bro. That might be.
You gotta really see. This is why I do this, because people have really great stories to tell
That nobody knows
that
about, right?
nobody knows, right? And
Yeah.
it's like, yo, let's talk about this stuff. Something you talked about with your mom, real quick before we move on.
Sure.
Is when you were describing how you didn't really comfort her, you didn't really know what to do in that moment
At all.
I read this really cool book recently. It's called I Hear You. I forget the name of it. I forget the name of the author. The name of the book is I Hear You. And what he talks about validation. And I had never thought of this because I'm terrible at validation. I'm pretty tough-minded, right? Because I was a sensitive kid and I was told to stop crying, so I became solid like a rock, right?
Yeah.
But in this book, he explains that when people are hurting, or even if they're happy and they come to you, or you have that moment with someone, they're not looking for you to tell them that it's going to be okay. They're actually looking for you to validate them in the way they feel. You don't have to agree with them.
That makes sense.
And being a police officer, it has helped me because I'll have someone stop, and it helps me to explain to them, listen, I disagree with your action, right? But I can completely see why you did what you did.
Yep.
And that in itself is like a relief. They're like, oh, thank God. Somebody the way I feel about this thing is okay.
Somebody sees it.
I'm saying, you know what? You have a right to. If I were you, I'd be sad too. So that's just a life lesson that I've learned.
Yeah.
So we got about 13 minutes, right?
Okay.
And I knew this was going to run. I knew I wasn't going to get through my list.
Yeah, we knew it.
Somebody wanted me to ask you about policing. I have on my list your loyalty to Black women, because you are very pro Black woman.
Fiercely.
I have on my list, I have marriage, and I have the Black family. And we still have to fit in your 5 people, dead or alive.
Yes, because I wrote them down.
So you could pick from any of those. If you want to go straight to the 5 people, that's fine. If you want to do any of those other topics, or if some you want to go with, the floor is yours. Okay,
I want to do policing before I do the 5. And the reason I want to do that is because of your profession, right? And it's
almost
interesting
14 years.
Because a lot of people with the feelings I have about police officers in general, people would probably be very surprised to know that you are one of my best friends. Like, real talk.
Right.
And you help me keep perspective of the fact that policemen are human. And not all of them agree with everything that's happening. And that it's not as easy as people think, that whole, well, why don't the good ones speak up? Well, we've seen the good ones speak up and be punished for it. And those good ones have families and, people they have to support and bills they have to pay and all of that. Right. So while I do feel like there needs to be reform with the way policing is done in this country, because of you, honest to God, because of you, I cannot say I hate all police officers, right? I cannot. I cannot say it because I love you. You are one of my greatest friends. We talk about any and everything. And so that's all I really care to say about policing. I absolutely feel like it needs to be a lot of changes made, but at the end of the day, I know some good ones. That's just the truth. Yeah.
Cool. Well, my quick piece on police, and I don't even know it's my idea. Ideas run through the mind. Other people might have said it.
Right.
I think we have a lot of conversations about how to improve policing, the police department, and the community, and the relationship between the police and the community. And I think something that would be really good for everybody involved is for the police departments to allow. So when we go through training, we do scenarios, and they'll have officers who are already on the department and our trainers and stuff, and they'll act it out. They may reach for a gun, they may try and swing on you or something like that. We need the community to come out and do those things so you can understand
what it's
when
like.
certain things happen, a police or anybody who is willing to sign up to run into a building to stop someone with a gun is already wired differently than most people.
Yeah.
So if you step
I
to a
get
police
that.
officer in a certain way, you already know they're probably going to react differently than the average person.
Okay.
Right? So I think not only does we need community policing, we need to better understand both sides of the coin, right?
Yeah.
So we'll leave the police thing at that, and we'll save that for a whole nother live, and we'll sit down and we'll do the whole
I
thing.
can dig that.
All
I
the
can
way
dig
back
that.
to whatever, right?
I can dig that.
2-hour joint.
Yeah.
I need your 5 people.
Okay.
If anybody you want to stop on, just let me know.
Okay.
If I want to
I
stop,
got you.
I'll let you
Look,
know.
I put them in my notes.
You cheated.
I did cheat. Because see, this is because I am also loyal to my friends, and I have been watching every episode of your show since it began, and so I knew that question was coming, and I'm prepared for it. That's all. So my 5, it was 5 people that if I could have a conversation with, who would they be? Right. My first one is my father. My father got murdered right before I turned 2. I have one very vague memory of him that for a lot of years I thought I had made up until I had a cousin that said, no, that happened. I was there.